In my experience, he ranks as the least impressive star in sports. Stephen A. Smith has always been candid, but now he's targeting Kawhi Leonard with a fresh perspective. After alarming news ties Kawhi to a $28 million fraud operation, Stephen A. isn't merely calling him out. He's unveiling startling information about the scheme. Let's explore this further. The stunning probe that sent shockwaves through the NBA. The basketball landscape was entirely transformed when investigative reporter Pablo Torre unveiled what many deem the most significant scandal to afflict the professional league since the Donald Sterling affair. In Torre's riveting report, it was revealed that Leonard had clandestinely agreed to a $28 million endorsement with a firm named Aspiration, a deal that supposedly demanded nothing from him while he reaped substantial earnings. Aspiration, the focal point of this scandal, was promoted as a green banking and sustainability entity, pledging to plant trees and aid clients in reaching carbon neutrality. However, it emerged as a vast fraudulent scheme that ultimately crumbled, dragging down the reputations of all involved. I will always extend my trust to Steve Ballmer, viewing him as a valuable asset to the NBA. Clearly, this situation merits thorough examination. The Clippers have firmly denied any allegations of misconduct. The individual at the center of this possible controversy is none other than Steve Ballmer, the tech titan with a fortune that makes him the wealthiest owner across all professional sports. Ballmer's net worth can swing between $50 billion and $200 billion based on market shifts, and he has personally put $50 million into Aspiration while sealing a $300 million deal between his cherished Clippers and the firm. The sequence of events reads like a gripping corporate saga. In April 2022, Leonard's firm KL2 Aspire LLC finalized a $28 million contract with Aspiration, coinciding with the company's impending collapse behind closed doors. The agreement was packed with conditions that would make any NBA compliance officer uneasy. Leonard would receive payment only if he stayed with the Clippers and was entirely free to refuse any promotional tasks the company might ask of him. Adding to the intrigue, the key players in this saga are noteworthy. Joe Sandberg, co-founder of Aspiration, has since admitted guilt to wire fraud charges, having deceived investors and lenders to the tune of over $248 million. The FBI, SEC, and the Department of Justice are currently probing into the company's deceitful practices, which involve fabricating financial reports and misleading investors regarding the company's true performance and profitability. However, the most scandalous element of this entire situation is the fact that Leonard received his $28 million payout for doing absolutely nothing. According to Torre's investigation, there is no proof that Leonard ever publicly advocated for Aspiration, unlike other celebrity endorsers who actively marketed the brand. While stars such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert Downey Jr., and Drake promoted Aspiration through multiple platforms, Leonard was pocketing payments exceeding 4 times the total of their endorsement contracts, all without doing any promotional work. The optics are severely damaging for someone who has already established a reputation for valuing financial reward over genuine effort. Since joining the Clippers, Leonard has been absent for over 40% of his regular season games, frequently attributing his time away from the court to injury protocols and load management strategies. His tenure with the team is a textbook example of how to optimize earnings while reducing on-court presence. He has pulled in an average of over $40 million annually, despite participating in fewer than 60% of games. Once Torre's inquiry came to light, the NBA acted promptly. The league declared it would initiate a formal investigation and enlisted the well-regarded law firm Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz for the task. The same agency responsible for the inquiries into Donald Sterling and Robert Sarver is set to carry out an in-depth investigation into the charges. This was not a mere breach of regulations that could be ignored. It could be the most significant case of salary cap evasion in the annals of NBA history. Commissioner Adam Silver had earlier cautioned teams regarding salary cap violations, labeling it the ultimate offense in the NBA following a probe into the Clippers' original acquisition of Leonard in 2019. Although that investigation cleared them of any misconduct, the present controversy has rekindled all those doubts and even more. The ramifications for the Clippers franchise are monumental. Should the NBA conclude that they engaged in salary cap evasion, the consequences may involve hefty fines, forfeiture of several first-round draft choices, and the risky possibility of canceling Leonard's contract. Historical examples show that the league regards such breaches with utmost gravity, as evidenced by the Minnesota Timberwolves situation with Joe Smith in the late 90s, which resulted in the loss of 5 first-round selections and monetary penalties worth millions. However, this scenario is even more intricate due to the tangled network of relationships at play. Ballmer's $50 million investment in Aspiration coincided with the time the company was working on Leonard's endorsement agreement, raising clear concerns about a potential conflict of interest that hints at possible collaboration between the team owner and the external firm compensating his star athlete. The situation grows even more complex when you factor in Leonard's representation. His uncle and advisor, Dennis Robertson, widely recognized in the NBA as Uncle Dennis, has a track record of making unconventional demands during Leonard's free agency negotiations. In 2019, Robertson allegedly sought illicit benefits from teams, such as partial equity, private jets, and assured endorsement income. The Lakers' Genie Bus notably dismissed these demands as against NBA regulations. The financial landscape of Leonard's time with the Clippers reveals a player adept at securing hefty rewards with minimal investment of effort. Since his arrival in 2019, Leonard has raked in over $241 million despite being absent for 206 out of 472 regular season games, translating to a 44% absentee ratio that would be unimaginable in any other field. During this time frame, he has missed between 15 to 50 playoff matchups, sitting out the entire 2021-22 season due to injury. What renders the deal particularly shocking is not just the staggering financial figures, but the utter absence of any performance to warrant such remuneration. Reports suggest that the contract featured provisions permitting Leonard to opt out of promotional engagements, allowing him to pocket his full salary while essentially holding a no-show role that serves solely to transfer funds to him without any meaningful business justification. Stephen A. Smith ignited a media frenzy with his fiery reaction. As the Kawhi Leonard scandal unfolded, few in sports journalism matched the intensity of ESPN's Stephen A. Smith. The veteran NBA commentator and first-take host went beyond mere commentary on the situation. He embarked on a relentless attack against Leonard's integrity and commitment, leveraging the controversy as a basis for one of the harshest critiques of a star athlete in recent history. In my view, he is the most disappointing superstar in sports. Smith's response transcended mere sensationalism for the screen. It was a strategic deconstruction of Leonard's whole professional image. During his radio broadcast, Smith dedicated substantial time analyzing what he perceived as a consistent trend of actions that mirrored the claims of receiving vast sums without delivering results. His assessment transcended the specific controversy, addressing Leonard's overall conduct as a professional athlete. This individual participated in New Balance ads, and the youth had opinions, Molly. Though he withheld details, Smith's remarks were especially incisive as he linked the Aspiration scandal to Leonard's ongoing behavioral trends throughout his career. He highlighted that Leonard has been absent for more than 40% of his games since becoming a Clipper, yet continues to receive his complete salary. He was reportedly gathering an extra $28 million for seemingly no effort at all. Smith noted that the image, in this case, couldn't be more damaging for someone meant to embody the brand. However, Smith wasn't alone in sharing opinions on this sensational narrative. Pablo Torre, the investigative journalist behind The Scoop, made several appearances on various programs to support his findings and elaborate on the thoroughness of his inquiry. His segment on The Rich Eisen Show was especially enlightening as he detailed the meticulous work he put into exposing the scandal via bankruptcy documents and discussions with former employees. What I discovered and then reported is that Kawhi Leonard signed a covert endorsement contract valued at $28 million, a deal that flew under the radar. This is significant because endorsements usually rely on public awareness of the Endorsers Association. The media reaction wasn't confined to standard sports news. Social platforms erupted with responses from fans, analysts, and various NBA figures, many showing disbelief at the audacity of the purported scheme. The narrative swiftly gained traction online, with Torre's original podcast probe racking up over 12 million views just days after debuting. The intrigue of this story for the media stemmed from the intriguing personalities engaged and their differing reactions to the accusations. Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, participated in multiple interviews aiming to separate himself from any misconduct while recognizing his financial commitment to ambition. Nevertheless, his answers appeared to generate further inquiries rather than clarify anything. We finalized that agreement with Kawhi prior to any of this. Well, before any of this, even before Kawhi was familiar with these individuals. We secured our agreement. That's commendable integrity. Ballmer's media engagement featured a spot on ESPN, where he asserted he was misled by the founders of Aspiration and was unaware of Leonard's endorsement agreement. However, his explanations seemed to lack the clarity and detail that many viewers expected, especially considering his substantial personal stake in the company and the Clippers' deep connection with Aspiration. What was particularly intriguing about the media narrative was how it highlighted the contrasting viewpoints within the NBA community regarding the events that took place. Mark Cuban, the ex-owner of the Dallas Mavericks, came to Ballmer's defense, contending that someone as intelligent as Ballmer would never engage in a carelessly orchestrated salary cap evasion scheme. Mark Cuban's backing of Ballmer stands out, showcasing an owner's take on the matter. He appears overwhelmed by his influence, which can be unsettling for the less fortunate. The trio isn't as impactful as their time with the Clippers suggested, but Ballmer certainly won't outperform those 24 interested in the cash deal. Cuban's insights implied that the intricate nature of the fraud could make Ballmer more of a target than a perpetrator. Yet, Pablo Torre's reaction to Cuban support offered an alternative view on the sophistication necessary for executing such a plan. When does someone regarded as exceptionally intelligent, the most astute businessman, and celebrated as the top investor of the past 2 decades, like Steve Ballmer, the wealthiest individual in sports, actually demonstrate his intelligence? And when does he display foolishness? Torres's inquiry underscored the core dilemma in assessing if a savvy entrepreneur could have unknowingly participated in such a scheme. During a recent episode of his podcast, Bill Simmons conveyed a comparable thought, expressing disbelief that someone as insightful and detail-focused as Ballmer could devise such a haphazard plan. Simmons highlighted Ballmer's precision in constructing the Intuit Dome to show how methodical he usually is, rendering the supposed salary cap violation feel atypical. I truly can't wrap my head around how he could be this foolish. That's where I find myself now. Yet, there's a chance he genuinely was this foolish. If we aim to, yet, I can't fathom how he could be this foolish. Still, not all media outlets were convinced by the notion that Ballmer had been deceived. Torres countered this perspective, asserting that the arrangement's timing and nature implied a more calculated approach rather than mere victimhood. His investigation featured accounts from several ex-employees of Aspiration, who contended that the Leonard transaction was intentionally crafted to bypass salary cap regulations. The media's focus also underscored the wider ramifications of the scandal for the entire NBA. Various analysts noted that if the Clippers were engaging in such practices, it sparked concerns over other franchises potentially exploiting salary cap loopholes. The league's competitive equilibrium could be severely undermined if wealthy owners were discreetly compensating their star players through unofficial agreements. Tom Haberstroh and Dan Devine from Yahoo Sports speculated on possible consequences, drawing parallels to historical cases like the one involving Joe Smith of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Their insights indicated that if allegations were substantiated, the Clippers could be subjected to severe penalties, including significant fines, the forfeiture of first-round draft picks, or even the annulment of contracts. The story received widespread international attention, with media in Indonesia and various nations portraying the scandal as a manifestation of corruption in American sports and highlighting the detrimental impact of extreme wealth on fair competition. This global engagement underscored the far-reaching consequences of NBA controversies, reflecting the league's immense popularity across the globe. Most significantly, the scandal reignited interest in Leonard's previous disputes and dubious conduct. News outlets revisited his controversial exit from the San Antonio Spurs. His high-maintenance free agency demands relayed through Uncle Dennis, combined with his history of load management and injury-related absences, set the stage. The ongoing scandal didn't emerge in isolation. It represents a continuing saga of prioritizing personal gain over team commitments. The media frenzy laid bare the fractured landscape of NBA reporting, with certain outlets and personalities eager to uphold the league's credibility, while others reveled in what they perceived as chronic corruption. The narrative morphed into a Rorschach test, reflecting varying media perspectives on the contemporary NBA, some perceiving it as a singular event, while others interpreted it as proof of more profound systemic issues within the league. With the media's ongoing examination, it was evident that this transcended mere sports news. It emerged as a narrative entwining business and legalities, probing deeper into the themes of influence and wealth, highlighting the lengths individuals might reach to sidestep regulations meant to uphold equitable competition. The consequences, inquiries, and their implications for the future unfolded. The repercussions of the Kawhi Leonard scandal have proven revolutionary for the NBA, sending shockwaves that affect not only the Los Angeles Clippers, but also the core principles of professional basketball itself. The league's choice to enlist Wachtel, Lifton, Rosen, and Katz, renowned for their work on both the Donald Sterling and Robert Sarver probes, indicates that Commissioner Adam Silver and the NBA view this as a possibly franchise-altering scandal. Historically, instances of salary cap violations in the NBA are rare, yet carry heavy consequences. A notable example is the Minnesota Timberwolves situation with Joe Smith in the late 1990s, which led to the loss of 5 first-round draft picks, substantial fines, and nullified contracts. This matter centered around undisclosed arrangements to have Smith resign at rates lower than the market value, with the assurance of a more lucrative contract later. This strategy seems minor when placed alongside the intricate details and financial magnitude of the Aspiration case. The current inquiry is notably complicated due to the intertwining connections and timing factors at play. In contrast to the primarily direct nature of the Smith incident, the Aspiration scandal encompasses a third-party firm, various layers of corporate funding, and an extensive documentation history over multiple years, along with federal fraud allegations. The NBA investigators are examining issues beyond just those tied to basketball. They are investigating a scenario linked to current federal criminal cases. During their broadcast, Pat McAfee and his team shared their distinct take on the controversy, with Connor drawing attention to the wider consequences for competitive fairness. Other NBA franchises have responded quickly and angrily. Sources indicate that competing teams are voicing their indignation over what they see as the Clippers gaining an inequitable competitive edge due to Ballmer's vast fortune. Executives from teams constrained by stringent salary cap rules are especially furious at the thought that one of the league's wealthiest owners might have discovered a means to bypass these regulations. This intense competitive frustration makes sense when you look at the larger picture of NBA finances. The league introduced tighter salary cap regulations specifically to stop affluent owners from casually purchasing titles. Luxury taxes, apron limits, and a range of financial consequences were established to maintain competitive equity. If franchises can easily divert extra funds to players via outside sponsorships, the whole salary cap framework loses its significance. The investigation seems to be broadening beyond merely the Leonard transaction. Investigations by the NBA are delving into the intricate connections among Ballmer, Aspiration, and the Clippers franchise, particularly focusing on the $300 million sponsorship that established Aspiration as a founding partner of the Intuit Dome. The sequence of these deals and investments presents a tangled timeline that officials need to decode to ascertain whether there was deliberate coordination to sidestep salary cap regulations. The most alarming aspect for the NBA is the light this scandal sheds on potential exploitation by ultra-wealthy owners. With an estimated net worth between $150 billion to $200 billion, Ballmer's financial power surpasses that of most other NBA owners, allowing him resources that could theoretically be used to bypass league rules in ways that lesser wealthy owners cannot. Should the Aspiration model serve as a precedent for billionaire owners channeling extra funds to players, it could radically disrupt competitive equilibrium in professional basketball. The legal ramifications go beyond just the NBA, as Joe Sandberg has admitted guilt to federal fraud charges. This raises the potential for federal authorities to investigate whether Leonard Ballmer or others had knowledge of any illicit activities. Although there is currently no proof indicating their awareness of the fraud, the blend of federal criminal inquiry and NBA compliance challenges creates a particularly intricate legal environment. Leonard has largely refrained from commenting throughout the turmoil, making a rare appearance at the U.S. Open tennis event without addressing the allegations. His silence aligns with his long-standing tendency to steer clear of media attention. But in this case, it may prove detrimental, as a public clarification and transparency could be beneficial for his situation. The financial fallout for the Clippers could be immense. Market experts have indicated that should evidence of salary cap violations emerge, the franchise might incur fines amounting to tens of millions, lose several first-round draft choices, and potentially have Leonard's contract extension nullified. For an organization that has yet to capture an NBA title and has faced challenges in asserting its dominance in Los Angeles, these repercussions could delay their competitive aspirations for years. Furthermore, the wider effects on player and team dynamics are substantial. If athletes and their agents believe they can gain extra earnings via third-party arrangements initiated by team executives, it could significantly alter the landscape of free agency and contract talks. The conventional divide between team salaries and external endorsements might increasingly dissolve, inciting a new competition among affluent owners. The controversy has sparked inquiries into the NBA's ability to oversee its operations. How is it possible for a $28 million endorsement contract tied to the league's most private star to go unnoticed for an extended period? The revelation through an investigative journalist sifting through bankruptcy documents indicates that the NBA's oversight mechanisms might be insufficient for identifying complex evasion tactics. Moving ahead, this incident could lead to substantial reforms in NBA governance and oversight. League executives may need to enforce stricter scrutiny of third-party agreements concerning team owners and their financial ventures. The existing framework heavily depends on self-disclosure and trust, which may prove inadequate in a time when team valuations and owner fortunes have soared to unprecedented figures. The Aspiration scandal underscores the shifting landscape of sports commerce in the 21st century. The distinction between team management and wider business endeavors has increasingly blurred as owners strive for heightened revenue and competitive advantages. The conventional model of sports ownership as a somewhat standalone entity is yielding to intricate networks of investments, alliances, and relationships, fostering both new legitimate business prospects and possible breaches of rules. As the NBA's inquiry progresses, the basketball community anticipates the outcomes, pondering whether this scandal will trigger significant penalties that transform league operations or whether the intricacies of the case and political implications will produce a more subdued reaction. The outcome of this case is poised to shape the future interactions among teams, players, and owners for many years to come. The final verdict on this scandal will reflect the NBA's dedication to maintaining competitive fairness, as well as the specific behaviors of Leonard, Ballmer, and the Clippers franchise. The league's readiness to sanction a prominent owner and a high-profile player will serve as a crucial test of Commissioner Adam Silver's authority and the NBA's institutional values. It is evident that the Leonard scandal has unveiled underlying issues in professional basketball that go well beyond a single player or team. The convergence of vast wealth, competitive drive, and regulatory scrutiny has created a scenario that could fundamentally alter our perceptions of equity, rivalry, and integrity in professional sports. In the approaching months, we will see if this controversy becomes a pivotal moment that enhances the NBA's regulatory frameworks, or if it uncovers deep-seated issues that are tough to resolve within the existing framework of professional basketball. We appreciate your viewership. If you like this video, Please click on one of the boxes on your screen to explore more related content.